Try this again. Here we go. Yep, there it is. And we'll just go. Let's do some of this. We'll just use that as leader, and we'll go 3, 2, 1, action.
Hi, welcome to another Rapunzel Rock Agency Firebrand radio interview. I'm Tara Kramer, and I'm here in the Tampa Bay area with Jerry Outlaw, the fretboard wizard. Jerry Outlaw is one of the busiest musicians in the Florida area. From John Oliva's Pain to Bogus Pomp, the much lauded and applauded Frank Zappa tribute band, to Jerry Outlaw and Friends and the Hubtones, progressive rock, classic rock. Jerry's guitar chops are feared and revered. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Jerry, where do you hail from originally, and at what age did you first become interested in music?
Well, I was born in Florida, but I grew up in North Carolina from about age 1. I stayed there until I was 19, when I came down to Florida to pursue music and find my purpose. And it turns out my purpose was to be a rock and roll musician.
Wicked. What musicians and bands can you cite as your earliest influences?
Early influences, definitely Black Sabbath, Frank Zappa, Led Zeppelin, Leonard Skinner, and Grand Funk Railroad. If you're talking early influences, I mean, I could sit and name a ton of influences, but from the early rock that really got me going and made me want to do that too, yeah, those bands, for sure.
Sweet. Okay. Please, can you tell us about some of the bands and musicians you've performed with in the past as well as presently?
Yeah, back early in my career, I did a lot of performing and writing and recording with a blues artist from North Carolina named Lonnie Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
He has some songs getting airplay over in the UK. He's a pretty well-known blues guy. Let's see, a lot of metal bands in Florida that I was involved with. I wrote a few down here. I was involved in a band called Messiahs back in the 80s, which was very cool, all original Florida power metal. I was in a band called Osiris in the same era that was a little more punk edged, a little more speed metal. I was in another wonderful band called Blackout, and it was more the power metal style, but it was progressive. It was very cool, and I had high hopes for that band. And that band broke up by bad management. So that was one of my first big disappointments in the music business, the demise of Blackout. It was a great original band. And let's see, after Blackout, I was in a band called the Genitorturers. Originally from Orlando, then we moved everything to Tampa. I toured with the Genitorturers and recorded on their first record on IRS Records, Shock Therapy. It was called 120 Days of Genitorture, and it was a very cool record, and it was kind of metal, industrial punk. It was, 1993 is when it was released. It was very cool. I was proud of it then. After the Genitorturers, I started Bogus Pomp. Started out with very small ideas and intentions, and it turned into a monster in the last 2 decades. Bogus Pomp is now a musical institution of excellence, and we play the music of Frank Zappa, the serious and the absurd. And it's an amazing project, and it's been the most intense school I've ever put myself through, for sure. Another project I've been involved with that I'm very proud of is called Yeah. And it's an amazing, very radio-friendly, very pop-savvy project. And nobody's heard it yet, and I hope someone gets to hear it someday. And then, obviously, John Oliva's Pain. I've played in and out of John's band since 2004, and now, hopefully, I'm a little more permanently rooted in that position of John's lead guitar player, and I'm happy about it. It's a pleasure to work with John, and I love his music and have since 1984. And to work with Jason, we're from the same school of music. We know John's music like he knows it. We've been listening to it that long, so we feel right at home in the position that we're at. And we feel we're the most qualified men to play John's music. Absolutely.
Awesome.
And let's see, other stuff I have written down here. My own fusion project, Jerry Outlaw and Friends, some of my monstrous guys from Bogus Pomp, and sometimes including Jason. We play a bunch of fusion, crazy, challenging stuff that I really like playing, and my originals, which are weird and kind of annoying, so I can only find certain people to play them. And along with that, I've got an opportunity with Bogus Pomp, we do Frank Zappa music, to do some interesting things. I've performed with Ike Willis, Napoleon Murphy Brock, and Robert Martin, all of which were in Frank Zappa's band at different times. And Bogus Pomp has also performed with the Florida Orchestra, the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, and our very own Bogus Pomp Orchestra. And putting on orchestral shows of Frank Zappa's serious music is a huge undertaking. And not very financially rewarding, but artistically it's over the top. It's one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Awesome. Okay, can you please give us some insight into your favourite guitars, amps and effects?
I can. Anyone who sees me play, usually if they know about instruments and stuff, they usually comment on my guitars because I prefer a certain type of hot rod guitar that was popular in the early 80s, made by a company called Kramer. And Eddie Van Halen helped make the Kramer guitars popular. I play Kramer Pacer guitars. From 1981 to 1983 is the years that of the Pacers that I collect. And I have several, and I love them, and they do what I like them to do. They let me play them, they let me speak fluidly through them. They're my instrument of choice, for sure. Kramer guitars with Floyd Rose vibrato systems. You can throw it down the stairs and it's still in tune. It's a wonderful piece of equipment. And I use EMG pickups, myself and Jason and Joe, we all three, and John Lingus Payne use EMG pickups because we want the best, baddest, meanest tone possible. And I use Morley pedals. I use Granville pedals made by Scooter Davis, badass. And what else are we going to do down there? I use obviously Marshall amps. If anybody makes anything better than a Marshall, call me. Also, Fuchs are a wonderful company. Andy Fuchs is amazing and makes great amplifiers. I have one of those. I love it. And also, the Fuchs company makes plush pedals, and I have a very sweet plush overdrive that I use. That's it.
Outstanding. Can you please share with us your perspective on the music business as a whole?
The music business is an evil whorehouse where you must fight for your life every day to survive. Well, the music business is what it is. It's changed a lot, and it's stripped down in a lot of ways that have made a lot of people's jobs a lot of job descriptions in the former record industry don't exist anymore because of the changes that have happened in the last couple decades in the record business. And overall, it's good. It's really trimmed a lot of the unnecessary bullshit out of the music business because in the old days, unless somebody very cool was the president of a record company, the purpose of it wasn't to really help the artist. It was to profit the record company. So these days you can make a great record and have great production on it right in your bedroom on your MacBook, So I like the way things have changed and become more independent. At the same time, there's always the argument of, people downloading stuff for free and all that, and everywhere I go, it's 50-50, Lots of people go, I don't want to give my music away, and, and I understand that, if I was poised to make $1 million on a project that was ready to go and all kinds of great things were behind it, I would probably feel the same way. But I'm kind of a, lower middle class musician, so in my opinion, I'm happy to give my music to anyone who wants to listen. If I make a buck on it, great. But I got other things that are legit and go through ASCAP and stuff, like the music for TV I do. That's cool. So, I got no problem giving 1,000 copies of a CD away of my music just because I want to spread it around. That's just how I feel.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any musicians in the Bay Area that you would recommend listening to?
Yes. A friend of mine, Devin Carmichael. Nobody knows about him, but he's amazing. And He's got really great songs, and I think he's got a Reverb Nation thing, and he's got a Facebook page. Devin Carmichael. He's got great songs, and you know, it's rock and it's kind of pop-edged rock. It's very good. And another friend of mine, Dana Walsh, his band is you know, keeping that Pantera-style metal tradition going locally in an original way. It's called American Fix. Very cool band. I used to be in a Money Shop with Dana. So,
That's right.
yeah, very good musician, great songwriter. So yeah, they're up and coming. Watch for those guys.
Sorted.
I'll even get you some of their music. You know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Lovely.
absolutely.
As a lead guitarist in John Oliva's Pain in the summer of 2012, you performed the entire Hall of the Mountain King album on tour. Can you please tell us about the
It was hysterical.
hysterical and historical experience?
That involved the hysterical.
Yeah, and the new musicians you worked with.
Well, I thought it was amazing. It was a very it ended up being very important to me personally. I mean, it was the kind of thing where in the initial stages, I guess anything could have happened, and you know, maybe different people could have been involved or whatever. But I'm glad everything happened the way it did. And even though, you know, it wasn't the top shelf tour where, you know, we didn't have the accommodations that Kiss might have by any means, but it was fun and it meant a lot to me. And to get the approval from John to step in and do what he had trusted Matt to do for so many years, and you know, to get that approval, you know, to have John shake my hand and go, "You're the man. I couldn't deliver this shit without you." Oh man, it made my heart just like bounce like a basketball. I couldn't believe it. You know, John's been a hero of mine for so many years. The opportunity to do this tour of an album so important in metal and so iconic for Sabotage, you know, it was an album that really broke them wide open in a lot of places. And just the opportunity to do it, it just made me feel wonderful about it, and I prepared my ass off for it. You know, I took the opportunity and ran with it, and myself and Jason and Joe, we really, man, we put several weeks of good hard work into trying to be the best we could, you know, to get over there and bring this music like it should be. You know, it's no small task to deliver a Sabotage album in its entirety, you know, and especially one that everyone who was coming to the shows to see us play, they knew every note, they knew every word on the record. So, you know, that's the most critical audience we could possibly play for, and we were, you know, we took our performance very seriously.
I mean, I managed to see you in London, and it was incredible.
That was a great show. Yeah, it was fun. You know, just Jason and Joe and I, we were determined to make the best impression possible and make people go, okay, you know, we want that Sabotage fix, and here's where we have to go to get it. You have to come see John. You have to see us bring this music, because we're the Florida boys who have been around here the longest, and we bring it in the most appropriate way, for sure.
You definitely did. Okay, what are your current and future plans musically?
Well, currently, I'm on the hurry up and wait thing to see what happens with John in the coming year. Hopefully, after the new year, you know, he'll get an idea of if we're going to do any dates this year. It would be great if we are. Other than that, I'm not sure, you know, what the coming year holds with John Oliva's Pain, but I hope we do some tour dates. I know John wants to get a record recorded, and I'm not quite sure of, you know, at the moment of my role in that. We'll wait and see, because I haven't heard any word from anybody. But I'm optimistic, and I got a lot to offer, and so does Jason, and so does Joe. So, you know, we're just going to keep our fingers crossed and hope everything allows us to take it on the road again and, you know, represent John and his music.
For sure.
Yeah. And I intend to keep Bogus Pump going for as long as it'll go, because, you know, it's an institution. I mean, I thought it was almost done several times, and you know, in its 20-year existence, and you know, I'm going to keep that going as long as it's practical to do so, because it's so close to my heart.
Absolutely. Okay, what are some of the most off-the-wall moments you've witnessed in your audience?
Sometimes every year, Bogus Pump has a show called Zappoween. It's our Halloween concert dedication to Frank Zappa, because he had legendary Halloween concerts in New York. So we have them down here. And there have been some moments at Zappoween concerts where people are such freaks, and I'll have a bunch of people on stage at one time in costumes when we have this audience participation part in a costume contest. I usually give away a guitar or something. And I've seen some photographs after the fact. Like, while it's going on, you don't realize because you're in it. And then I see pictures and video after the fact, and I'm like, it just looked like an insane asylum on stage. So many freaks, and I'm just in the middle of it like, hey! It was a top shelf stupidity. I really love it. But other situations that were wild, well, some were funny. I mean, like the sidewalk situation with Joe was pretty damn funny. Our lovable other guitar player guy had a little bit too large a slice of some hash cookies one night, and then we ended up hanging out on the sidewalk with him for a few hours, and we got a lot of really genuine laughs out of it. And Joe was such a good sport after the fact that he didn't kill me or Jason, which was very nice of him. And, but all kinds of wild stuff happens on the road. I mean, when you live on a bus with 12 other people, it's like being on a submarine. It's pretty close quarters. So there's some definitely classic moments. Just having all these wonderful experiences together and meeting all these new people, and man, wish I could think of more of them to recount at the moment, but there's nothing like touring, with a bunch of people that are really happy to be there.
Nice one. Okay, we're going to go to the director's question.
Yes. Well, of course, once again, no ground is sacred here. Jerry and I have known each other for 25 plus years at this point. We worked together in JLP, and I've also become an alumnus of Jerry Outlaw and Friends, as well as an honorary hub tone with the Buffo brothers and Rick Olson on keyboards.
Yeah, I forgot to mention those guys.
Any chance you'd ever get desperate enough to hire me in for yet another gig? I mean,
absolutely, sir.
I'm sure that your call list is pretty long.
Well, I'm in the mood to fire somebody, so let me fire you now and rehire you now.
Love it. I'm waiting.
Yeah, obviously, I really liked your contribution to the Jerry Outlaw and Friends project, and every time you get up and jam with us when we play the hub tones, it's always a blast. So absolutely, I plan on us making lots of different types of music together, other than the John Lewis Payne situation.
Splendid.
Nice. Okay, you and Matt Laporte were not only the best of friends, but also musical contemporaries and colleagues. Can you share some memories of Matt with us?
Yeah, that guy was, my best friend. I mean, I have so many wonderful memories of that guy. I'm finally to the point now in his absence where, I laugh 9 times out of 10 when I think about it now, which is great. And, so many good close times with him. I mean, he had lived with me various times, and we've just been through everything together. We've seen each other at our best and our worst. Countless times. He would come by my house at 3 a.m. and I would cook us dinner. I love the guy. We've been everywhere together. We're just two really good friends experiencing a lot of soul searching together. At one time we were astronauts of inner space, if you will. Two people who are great friends bond really in a kind of a permanent way, when you trip together. And, me and Matt did a lot of that in our younger days, when, we're really getting to know each other. And, there's something to be said about that. There's really a serious bond. Matt and I had an amazing connection, an amazing chemistry, and It varied, you know, from time to time. I mean, there would go periods where I wouldn't see him for 6 or 8 months. But then sometimes, you know, we would be inseparable. I mean, Matt was one of the finest musicians I've ever known in my life. An amazing player, an amazing creative artist, and one of the funniest guys ever. One of the things that I miss the most about him, since he's not here now, is we had our own language together. You know, we had the silliest, stupidest language that we spoke, and I don't get to speak that with anyone now. So everyone else looks at me like, "What?" when I say something like that. You know, so I miss that so much about him. We had our own little, very stupid, private little communication that we did, and wow, I miss that guy so much.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
If our listeners want to learn more about the Matt Laporte Scholarship Foundation, how can they acquire information?
Like this. The address to send any sort of donation is St. Petersburg College Foundation, Matthew Laporte Music Scholarship Fund, P.O. Box 13849, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33733, 3489. This is the address. You know, any contribution of any type is obviously appreciated. There are several music students that have already been helped and assisted financially through this foundation, and it's a great thing that's going to perpetuate in the coming years and help more and more students get their foot in the door and be able to have an instrument, and be able to afford a semester, and be able to, you know, to become a musician or an artist if they want to, and get a little bit of help. And it's a great thing. And hopefully everyone who remembers Matt will continue to perpetuate this music fund and allow it to make a difference somehow every year. Right?
That's lovely. Jerry, thank you so much for
You're very
your
welcome.
time and for talking to us.
Absolutely.
It's been lovely.
Thank you very much.